Right, this little routine is mainly looking at hip mobility, stroke flexibility, just to get you moving as part of your warm up in a dynamic sort of manner. So we're talking pre-workout. Just to get the hips opened up then to start with, we're just going to drop down as low as we can into this position. If you need to, you can raise your heel on a platform. We're just going to drop here using the elbows, just pushing out gently and letting them come back in. So just bringing on that adductor stretch a little bit and just opening them hips up. It's also good to spend time in this bottom position, maybe bringing it up to parallel, thinking about your back position, tucking your hips under, pushing your hips out, and just moving around in this position here, just to start with, just to start opening the hips up a little. If this is too much for you, you can do some other stuff first to warm it up, and I'd always recommend a little bit of low light impact sort of cardio to warm up, get the blood flowing initially. However, it's not necessary when you're starting this low level. So for the next one, we're going to look at internal and external rotation of the hips. So I'm trying to keep my hips nice and still, and I'm window wipering using my knee as the pivot point. This is allowing the internal and external rotation from the hip joint. By keeping the hips still, that allows for that specific movement. Now let's move that on. Another one which I've heard coined as internal external rotation a lot. It's a nice movement and it does feel good, but strictly because the hips are moving as we're doing it, actually the internal external rotation isn't a huge amount, I don't think, because the hips are following the movement, okay? So if we were to keep our hips still and drop it like this, guess what? We're going to hit a limit, because that's as much of our internal external rotation as we're going to get while the hips stay in that movement, unless we move them to follow. Okay, so if we do move them to follow, it's not the end of the world, but have a look. Actually, we're getting the angle coming outwards from the side, which is more abduction, although we're not taking it into that movement. We've got this bend here because we remain upright. However, like I say, it is a nice movement, but if you're looking for specific movements, then be aware of what you're doing and what it actually is. From there, then, we're going to go into something called S-sits. So we start with the feet in an S-sit position. We're going to bow our chest over the lead knee, which is facing the 12 o'clock position. And the center of the chest comes to the knee. Then we're going to pop up. We're going to rotate around, and we're going to S-sit on the other side. And we're going to bow down. And we're going to rotate around, and we're going to bow down. So as we bow down, we get a little bit of dynamic flex on them glutes. So bring it to the front. If we don't touch the mat, the core becomes activated, and we get a bit of coordination as we go. What we're then going to do is we're going to pop up, and we're going to push the hip through. Getting the flex come on the rear leg for the hip flexor here. Okay, we're just going to push that through. Then we're going to drop back down. Rotate around. We bow down. Again, center of chest here, and we pop up. Pushing through allows that lead rear leg for the hip flexor stretch to come on. Rotate, bow, flex, or stretch as we say. Bow, pop up, feel the stretch come on. Quite a satisfying movement once you get the hang of it. Here. Great for getting the hips going, a little bit of core activation, and so on. Okay, once we go from there then, all we're going to do, place the hands on the floor, and we're going to start looking at putting our feet back, and we're going to go to more of a posterior chain sort of element here, just pulsing the feet to the floor, heel after heel. I'm trying to get my head somewhere between my arms. Some yoga enthusiasts will be all over this movement and tell you what's right and wrong, but as a rough rule of thumb, pushing my bum high, my heels to the floor, pushing my hands into the mat and my head between my arms, feeling like my armpits are coming towards the floor as well. And as long as it doesn't hurt, although it should be uncomfortable stretching, we are now dynamically flexing down the posterior chain like so. What we're going to do is we're going to pause that, say 6 pulses. We're going to step through with one leg so it comes to the outside of our same side hand. And then we're going to push our hip towards the floor. We're just going to pulse that down. We should be feeling this now on the front of that rear leg hip flexor. Again, what we felt when we did the pop up with the S-sits, just push in there, do a few pulses, and then come back out. A few more pulses here, working that posterior chain again, pushing back, keeping the head low. Then we're going to step through with the other leg, and a few pulses here. Again, the routine you choose to do, in order to achieve these stretches is up to you. It's just nice to move well. And again, I'm feeling the stretch up towards the top of the hip there as I'm stretching off my hip flexors. As we've got a nice straight leg, we're hitting into the deeper hip flexors a little bit more. Then we're going to go back, and we can do that routine as much as we like, but what we're going to do now is we're going to pulse the heels, and then we're going to go back to stepping on the outside. This time what we're going to do is we're going to take the elbow, because we've replaced the hand with the foot, drop the elbow to the floor, reach round, look to the sky, back down. So we're still trying to keep that stretch, a gentle stretch on the hip flexor, but we're now getting a bit of rotation in the spine and increasing through the full chain of the body as we drop that elbow down to the floor. When we've done a few of them, rotating, we replace the hand where the foot is, we take the foot back, and if we want, we can throw a few more pulses in there, and then we're going to step through with the other. Again, foot's there, take the hand, supporting arm, elbow to the floor, same side as the foot, dropping down and reaching round to the sky. Again, for as many reps as you see fit. And then for the last one, hands fixed, feet come back, a few more pulses if we like. Okay, and then we're going to go into a press up position. Okay, notice my hands slightly wider than shoulder width apart. I wish that was my shoulder width, but it isn't. Okay, and what that allows me to do, just in this instance, is bring my feet into the middle. So I'm going to take this foot, I'm going to aim to bring this foot as close to the hands as possible. And if you want initially and you want to walk it in with the toes, then do so. Then we're going to bring the other foot, keeping the hands as flat as we can. Then we step back out into this position. Then we come wide with one, wide with two, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And so on. Alternating from the outside to the inside. From here, you can walk your feet in a little bit. I'm going to hold the toes with both hands. All I'm going to do now is I'm going to try and keep my hold of my toes, and I'm going to push my hips up to the sky to get as straight as I can with the back of the legs. If you only get to here, so be it. We then go back down. We pulse back up, back down, pushing the hips to the sky, back down, dynamically flexing the hamstrings, but again working into this position at the bottom. You can start to hit back where we started again, then pushing outward with the pulses. You can even start to rock over one foot to start to try and improve some mobility here, flexibility at the back while the knees bent. This is a nice position because at the back here you've got your soleus, which is deep, and it's nice to work into them positions here just to start to really mobilise the ankle as well. But obviously the majority of that was looking more at the hip. Just a few little beauties to work with, but it's a great thing to build in. Develop your own routine, areas you need to work on, and use them as part of your warm-up. Any quizzes, stick it in the link. If you like it, give us a thumbs up. Cheers, guys.